You trust her. But something feels off. She says he's just a friend. Yet deep down, your instincts are screaming that there's more to the story. You can't quite explain it. But her words and her actions, they don't match. This isn't about paranoia. It's about patterns. And once you know what to look for, you'll never see her the same way again. Her smile, her glance, the way she says his name. It's all part of a hidden truth she doesn't want you to notice. But you will. Starting now. Here are the signs she's emotionally attached to another man. Sign 1. Her body language says otherwise. Words can be deceiving. A woman might tell you he's just a friend, but her body language, that never lies. The human brain is wired to send signals beyond words, especially when it comes to attraction. And when a woman is downplaying her connection with another guy, her subconscious behavior will betray her every time. Here's what you need to watch for. First, notice how she reacts when she talks about him. Does she laugh a little too much? Does she light up in a way that seems different? Does she say his name with a certain warmth, a certain familiarity, as if he holds a place in her mind that's more than just friendly? Even if she brushes him off with words, her tone tells a deeper story. Now let's go a step further. What happens when she's around him? If you ever see them together, watch closely. Does she lean in when she talks to him? Does she playfully touch his arm? Does she angle her body toward him, even when she's supposed to be with you? Here's something interesting about human psychology. When we're attracted to someone, our bodies naturally mirror them. It's subconscious. If he scratches his chin, and a few seconds later she does too. If he leans forward, and suddenly she follows. That's not an accident. That's a connection. Another dead giveaway. Nervous energy. If you ask about him, and she suddenly gets defensive, fidgety, or starts over-explaining why he's just a friend, that's a massive red flag. If he's truly just a friend, why does she feel the need to justify it? And here's the ultimate test. When you're with her, especially in an intimate moment, does she ever bring him up out of nowhere? If a woman is thinking about another guy, even when she's with you, it means he's living in her mind rentrée. And no matter how much she downplays it, the truth is in her actions. Women might be able to control their words, but their body language, that will always reveal what's really going on. Warning sign 2. She defends him like he's her boyfriend. Let's be real. When a woman genuinely sees a man as just a friend, she treats him like a brother. Casual fun, but with zero romantic tension. There's no hesitation, no deep emotional attachment, just a relaxed dynamic. But if she defends him like her life depends on it, you're dealing with something else entirely. Here's what I mean. If you casually bring him up, just asking a normal question, and she immediately jumps to his defense, almost as if you're accusing her of something, that's not normal friendly behavior. Think about it. Let's say you ask, so how do you know him? A woman with nothing to hide will answer normally. No tension, no panic, no need to prove anything. But if she gets flustered, if she starts talking too much, throwing in random details about why he's just like a brother, or he's been there for me in ways you don't understand, that's when you know, because that kind of response, that's emotional attachment. Now here's where things get even more obvious. If you ever express the slightest concern about the guy, and she immediately turns it around on you, saying things like you're just insecure, why are you being so jealous, I can't believe you don't trust me, she's shifting the focus off herself and putting it back on you. This is classic deflection, and it's what people do when they don't want to admit what's really going on. Because let's be honest, if there was truly nothing there, she wouldn't feel the need to get defensive. And here's the real test. Ask her this. If he got a girlfriend tomorrow, and started ignoring you, would you be okay with it? Watch her face. Watch her hesitation. Because if a woman truly sees a man as just a friend, she won't care if he moves on. She won't care if he stops talking to her as much. But if the thought of him pulling away bothers her, if she suddenly looks uncomfortable, as if losing his attention would actually hurt her, then deep down she already knows the truth. And so do you. Warning sign 3. She talks about him a lot. You ever notice how people talk about things they can't stop thinking about? When someone's on your mind, they naturally slip into conversation, whether you mean to bring them up or not. Now if a woman keeps saying he's just a friend, but his name comes up constantly, that's not just casual friendship, that's emotional weight. Here's what you need to pay attention to. Does she mention him when you're talking about completely unrelated things? Does she bring him up when you're having deep or personal conversations? Does she use him as an example or comparison when you discuss relationships? Because if she's always dropping his name, even in small passing moments, that means he's taking up mental space. And if she's thinking about him that much, trust me, she's feeling something, even if she won't admit it. Now let's get into the subtle ways she does it. One of the biggest giveaways is when she shares inside jokes or memories about him, especially ones where she reminisces with a certain kind of nostalgia. You can literally hear it in her voice, like she's reliving a moment that mattered more than she wants to admit. Another dead giveaway: she compares him to you. It might be subtle, but if she ever says, "Oh, he always does this thing where I wish you'd do that like he does. He totally understands me," in a way that you need to recognize that for what it is, emotional investment. If a woman is truly just friends with a guy, she won't feel the need to bring him into every conversation. But if he's always at the edge of her mind, that's because he holds a certain place in her emotions. And here's the final test. Does she light up when she talks about him? Watch her face. Watch her energy. Watch how she reacts without even realizing it. Because words can lie, but the way she says them, that tells the real story. Warning sign 4. She prioritizes him over you. A woman will always make time for what matters to her. That's human nature. If someone is important in her life, you'll see it in her actions, not just her words. So if she constantly chooses to spend time with him, answers his calls right away, or drops plans with you for him, you've got a serious problem. Because let's be real, when a woman is actually into a man, she will make him feel like her top priority. Now some women will say, "But I've been friends with him for years." That doesn't matter, because friendships don't come before relationships. And if you're her man, you should come first. So what are the biggest red flags? She texts him constantly, even when she's with you. If she's always glued to her phone, giggling at his messages, while she's literally on a date with you, that's blatant disrespect. She cancels or reschedules your plans for him. If she keeps saying, "I'm supposed to meet up with him, but we can hang out another day," guess what? She's showing you exactly where you rank in her life. She runs to him when she's upset, instead of you. This is one of the biggest indicators of emotional closeness. When something goes wrong, a woman naturally seeks comfort from the person she trusts most. If that's not you, that's a major problem. And here's the worst one. If she says something like, "I don't know what I'd do without him," or "He's the only one who really understands me," you need to wake up. Because a woman should never be that attached to another man when she's in a relationship. At the end of the day, a woman chooses where she invests her energy. And if she's giving too much of it to him, that means she's already emotionally invested, whether she admits it or not. Warning sign 5. She gets defensive when you call it out. Let's say you finally decide to bring it up. You ask her straight up, "Are you sure there's nothing going on with him?" And instead of calmly explaining, she immediately snaps at you. She gets defensive. "Why do you even care? He's just my friend." She flips it on you. You're just being jealous. She makes you feel guilty for even asking. "I can't believe you don't trust me." All of these are classic deflection tactics. Because here's the thing. When someone has nothing to hide, they don't overreact. They answer questions normally. They reassure you. They make sure you feel secure. But if she immediately turns it into an argument, that's a sign she feels caught. Now let's go even deeper. Does she change the subject whenever he comes up? If she's truly just friends with him, she won't feel the need to avoid the conversation. But if she acts irritated every time you bring up his name, that's because she knows something isn't right. Another huge red flag. She refuses to set boundaries with him. If you ask her to put some distance between them, and she freaks out, saying things like, "You're trying to control me. I can't just stop being his friend. Why should I have to change anything?" She's protecting that relationship for a reason, and that reason, it's because it's already crossed a line, whether she admits it or not. Here are some audience reactions after reading this news. As a seasoned observer of human behavior and longtime student of psychology and interpersonal dynamics, the signs outlined in the scenario above are powerful indicators of something deeper lurking beneath the surface of seemingly innocent friendships. While it's important not to jump to conclusions prematurely, it is equally important to trust the evidence that lies not just in spoken words, but in the consistent, unconscious patterns of body language and emotional responses. Words can be carefully chosen, rehearsed, and even weaponized, but body language and instinctive behavior are rooted in the subconscious mind, where true intent and emotions are far harder to hide. The first major insight lies in understanding the psychological phenomenon of emotional leakage, where our nonverbal cues betray feelings that we are consciously trying to suppress. A woman may claim that a man is just a friend, yet when her face lights up, her body leans toward him, or her eyes linger in a way that speaks of comfort and connection. Those are not random or inconsequential gestures. They are expressions of emotional presence. The human brain is wired to seek out patterns of intimacy and safety, and when those patterns are present, they are reflected in subtle but persistent ways, mirroring body posture, the warmth in her tone, or the frequency of his name entering conversation without prompt. Furthermore, nervousness and defensiveness are reactions rooted in self-protection. When a woman becomes overly defensive or begins over-explaining when her connection to another man is questioned, it's not necessarily because she's hiding a betrayal, but because there is something emotionally significant she either hasn't fully confronted or is afraid to admit. Defensive behavior often masks internal conflict. She might not even fully understand her own emotional attachment yet. But the overcorrection, the sudden need to justify or redirect, is a key psychological marker that something is indeed there. Now consider the role of emotional investment. Human beings are creatures of attachment, and attachment, especially emotional, does not require physical intimacy to be real or powerful. In fact, many emotional affairs begin as innocent friendships that gradually evolve into something much more emotionally consuming. A woman who repeatedly brings up a man's name, who shares inside jokes or past memories with nostalgia, or compares him to her partner, even subtly, is engaging in what we call emotional referencing. She is drawing upon her emotional closeness to this man to contextualize and evaluate her present relationship. This is not typical of purely platonic friendships. True friends, those who are like siblings, don't occupy mental real estate in that way. This brings us to a powerful truth. A woman's true priorities are revealed by her choices. Who she runs to when she's upset. Who she texts when she has good news. Who she turns to for advice. Those are the people who sit closest to her heart. If she consistently chooses another man in these key emotional moments, it's not just friendship anymore. That man is emotionally prioritized, perhaps even more than the one she's in a relationship with. And here lies the paradox. She may not be unfaithful in a traditional physical sense, yet emotionally, she may be deeply entangled. And in many relationships, emotional betrayal cuts even deeper. Let's also not ignore the psychological implications of deflection and projection when confronted. When someone is accused of wrongdoing or confronted with suspicion and responds not with calmness and transparency, but instead with accusations, blame, or exaggerated defensiveness, this is not just a personality flaw, it is a coping mechanism. Deflection allows a person to avoid the discomfort of introspection and maintain a version of events that shields them from guilt or responsibility. If she immediately flips the situation and labels you insecure or jealous, it doesn't mean she's malicious. It means she's trying to avoid something she might not be ready to face. But avoidance doesn't equal innocence. The idea of setting boundaries is another area where the truth tends to come out. If she resists setting reasonable boundaries with this man, like spending less one-on-one time, communicating less often, or prioritizing her relationship over that friendship, it speaks volumes. Healthy relationships require boundaries. If she refuses to place them, claiming you can't control me, or he's just always been part of my life, then the question becomes, what's so valuable about this relationship that she's unwilling to risk changing it, even if it's hurting the one she's supposed to value most? Ultimately, what we see here is not necessarily about cheating in the traditional sense, but about emotional displacement. When a woman's heart and attention begin to drift, it's not always because she's looking for someone better. It's often because emotional voids are being filled elsewhere. She may not be aware of this process herself, as emotional attachments often grow subtly over time. But the signs are there, clear as day, for those who know what to observe. The lesson, then, is twofold. First, for those in a relationship, it is vital to be attuned not only to what is said, but to what is shown. Because body language and emotional behavior are the truest reflection of the heart. Second, one must also approach these situations with a spirit of open communication and calm clarity. Accusations, ultimatums, or aggressive confrontations will only serve to harden defenses. But a thoughtful, observant approach, grounded in truth and guided by emotional intelligence, can often lead to clarity and healing. Whether that means rebuilding trust or recognizing that emotional fidelity has already been compromised. Relationships thrive on honesty. But honesty isn't just about telling the truth. It's about living it, feeling it, and acting in alignment with it. When words and behavior don't match, always believe the behavior. That is where truth resides. Thank you for watching. Do you enjoy Stoic Path? If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.